Welcome to the Leaders in Payments podcast, where we talk to C-level leaders from across the payments landscape. We'll be discussing the products and services that impact the payment space today, as well as trends and predictions for the future of payments. We will also hear stories from our guests about their journeys to the top.
Hi, everyone. This is your host, Greg Myers, and in today's episode, I continue my series on the unattended retail sector of the payment space with industry leader Cantaloupe. Their Vice President, GM Micro Markets, Michael Johnson, is my guest, and he has been in the autonomous retail space for quite some time now. So the perspective he offers on this rapidly growing niche within our industry truly gives some food for thought about the future of where consumer engagement is headed. For those of you who may not know what the unattended retail space refers to, think about the freestanding snack and drink kiosk you see at the airport or the unmanned shops in corporate break rooms and hotel lobbies. Cantaloupe is a digital payments and software company that acts as a full-service technology partner for businesses looking to expand their reach into the self-service micro market. As a result of the global pandemic, self-checkout in unattended retail went quickly from a nice-to-have classification to an absolute must, and Cantaloupe has been the industry leader driving all the buzz. Michael talks about the growing consumer demand for a frictionless experience when it comes to payments, how AI has helped us take the erroneous data dump that came from the digital age and make that data both meaningful and profitable, and what to expect moving forward in terms of cryptocurrency and relevant trends or unique applications predicted to dominate the unattended retail space in the future. We've got a great episode ahead, so let's get started. Hi, Michael, and thank you for being here, and welcome to the Leaders in Payments podcast.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for having me on, man. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. So let's dive right in. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your role there at Cantaloupe.
Well, there's actually a little bit of history there. My relationship with Cantaloupe started back in 2017 as an integrated partner. So I was previously the co-founder and CEO of Yoke Payments, as a self-checkout point-of-sale solution built specifically for micro markets. So you've probably seen these little unmanned shops that go into corporate break rooms, or you'll see them in hotel lobbies, or kind of like the snack and drink kiosks that you see at the airport, except there's no cashier there. But that whole concept was actually conceived and incubated with vending operators, and now it's the fastest growing segment in that entire industry. So in 2017, we integrated to Seed, which is Cantaloupe's industry-leading vending management software. So this allowed our joint customers to scale their micro-market footprint without the inefficiencies of running multiple back-end systems for all the different components of their business. So now these vending operators could service their vending machines, micro-markets, office coffee delivery, and so on, all from one single back-end platform. And then fast forward to August of last year, and Yoke was acquired by Cantaloupe. And so I now serve as the GM of our micro-market division.
And before we go too deep into the conversation, can you tell our audience exactly what Cantaloupe does?
Of course. So Cantaloupe is a digital payments and software services company. We're the leader in end-to-end solutions for unattended retail. So we really view ourselves as a full-service technology partner for businesses that are looking to expand their reach into self-service. So we provide the software and hardware to process their payments. We provide tools to manage those devices that are out in the field, as well as back-end software to track inventory across all of those multiple points of sale and efficiently service those locations. Our platform also allows retailers to engage customers with loyalty, rewards, deals, and promotions. So to simplify it, I kind of like to break it out into three buckets: payments, business efficiency, consumer engagement. So we help companies collect money, we help them run a tight ship, and most importantly, build lifelong customers with an affinity to their brand.
Great. That's a great description. So with the onset of COVID and the advancement of technology, what do you see these autonomous retail companies looking like? Where's that technology heading, and how is it going to change the consumer experience in the future?
So we always believe that someday down the line, cashiers would become a job of the past. And that's why we decided to focus on micro markets. They were, by definition, fully unattended. It was perfect training ground for us to kind of become experts in self-checkout, maybe before the rest of the world was fully ready for it. So then you start to see these grocery stores adopting it. You have Amazon Go come in and generate all this buzz around a fully cashierless experience. But then ultimately COVID came along. And all of a sudden you saw self-checkout and unattended go from a nice to have to an absolute must. COVID reintroduced the world to the QR code. This timeline on getting towards automation just got a heavy dose of rocket fuel. So now we're seeing autonomous cars. You got robots and drones being used for deliveries. In my opinion, the consumer experience is better today than it ever has been before. And companies are being forced to adopt or get left in the dust. The options available to consumers are more plentiful than ever. So with everything, moving as fast as it is, it can be hard to imagine what this could look like even in the near future. But I do know one thing, it is exciting.
Yeah, and I think it's important sort of for the audience to know. I mean, I think there was a time when we thought kind of vending machines, and that was sort of the experience when you thought of Cantaloupe. But I think today that it's become so much broader than that, and it's really, anywhere you have an autonomous retail environment. I mean, to your point about the, places in the hotels and the airports, and that whole consumer experience, I think, went from being potentially full of friction to where you guys have really kind of removed that friction in the consumer experience. I mean, do you agree with that?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's what it's all about at this point. The consumers demand a frictionless experience. And if you're not there ready to provide it, they're going to find somebody else who is.
Yeah, absolutely. How do things like artificial intelligence play a role in what Cantaloupe is doing and others in retail to help meet the needs of the customer?
Yeah, I'd say at this point, AI is almost required to provide this level of service that we're talking about that consumers have come to expect and demand. I think one of the most useful or powerful things we've seen come from this overarching shift towards digital is that it has become exponentially easier to collect data. But with a data point for literally everything, it's also becoming near impossible to make that data useful without the help of artificial intelligence. So it's a huge reason why we recently partnered with Hivery. In conjunction with their software, we're now able to do things like predict merchandising behaviors before they even happen. It's like we've all been there, right? You're having a conversation with a friend about this cool product that you just saw, and 10 minutes later, you're served an ad for it. It's like, oh man, they must be listening, right? It's like, well,
Right.
Maybe not. I mean, it just seems coincidental, but that's the power of AI and machine learning. We know you typically buy that energy drink every Friday afternoon as soon as you start to get tired. We can not only guarantee that it's in stock and waiting for you there, but if we don't hear from you, we're going to send you a push notification that reminds you to go buy it if you're 5 minutes later than you normally are. And then we'll probably bundle it with a deal for some other product or service or experience that we know you'll also enjoy. And you're most likely going to go talk to your friends at that party later that night because, we just blew your mind. It's like we're actually getting into the minds of the consumer.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good segue into the next question. So, speaking of getting into the minds of the consumer, what trends are you seeing when it comes to payments in both traditional retail and autonomous retail?
Yeah, so I apologize in advance here because I'm about to go a little bit stat crazy, but our last consumer survey showed a general rise in the adoption of unattended retail. Since the pandemic, 90% of consumers used unattended as much or more than before. 83% of them expect that usage to remain elevated post-pandemic. And then this was really interesting, but 82% of those that shopped unattended said that it did make them more likely to shop other channels from that retailer in the future. So I thought that was really interesting. Bringing in unattended opens up the window to future sales on future channels. So it's all about convenience and being ready to accept payment the way the consumer wants to pay when they want to do it. Also, for me, I feel like the future is all about the phone. And we saw this huge adoption of payment apps and mobile wallets. Actually, 86% of consumers reported having used one in the past 12 months. 97% of consumers used mobile payments as much or more than they did pre-pandemic. To me, that's crazy. Mobile payment adoption is going through the roof. And then all of this powered by the phone, but last and certainly not least, you've got crypto. And it's still extremely early for this space, but I was surprised to hear this. 28% of consumers surveyed own cryptocurrency. And even more impressive was that 86% of them said that they'd be willing to spend it to make purchases for goods and services if it was tied to a mobile wallet and easy to use.
So do you think that's the next big thing in retail?
Short answer, yes. From 1990 to 2000, the internet grew at 63%. Cryptocurrency is currently growing at 113%. So it's literally being adopted faster than any other technology in the history of mankind. So at this rate, crypto adoption is going to go from 140 million users to over 1 billion users by 2024. So I think retailers better be prepared to accept it. And again, this is all about giving consumers the ability to pay any way they want to, whenever they want to. It always comes back to how you can make it fast, easy, and convenient. But I say adopt or get left in the dust. If consumers want to pay with crypto, you better be ready to accept it. And at 1 billion users in 2024, it only seems imminent that that's going to happen. So at Cantaloupe, we offer merchants mobile apps like Yoke Pay that allows their consumers to shop right from their phones and skip lines altogether. And we've also partnered with Bakkt, who's a crypto provider that makes it extremely easy for consumers to link their mobile pass right to their mobile wallet. And we're enabling crypto payments at any Cantaloupe unattended retail terminal.
I want to go back and ask a question. Kind of made me think about kind of the experience of receiving sort of an offer, or like you said, hey, you haven't had your monster drink or whatever, and you're serving those up. So do you work through like typically the retailer's loyalty program, or how do you know who the customer is, or it's really your customer's customer? I mean, sort of just explain how that kind of works mechanically. I think that might help people.
Yeah, so with our back office tools, we're kind of a B2B2C company. So we sell companies the tools they need to engage their customers. So we have a back office portal that allows companies to create these deals and promotions and loyalty and rewards programs, and they're completely customizable. So you can go into our back office, you can manage your customers, you can send them push notifications, create new deals. Hey, Joe, we haven't heard from you in a while. Come on down and save 10% on your next order. So we're really putting the power of those tools into the hands of our customers to better serve their customers. And of course, integration is at our forefront. I already talked about Bakkt, but ultimately, if our customers use certain tools already, we want to slide in seamlessly and play nicely with the tools they're already using. So you'll see with our technology stack, always open APIs, open architecture, willing to integrate and make sure that we can play nicely with the tools that our customers are already using, and not just saying, hey, you're forced to take it or leave it, use everything we've got, rip out everything you're doing and start over from scratch. It's all about making this easy and seamless and frictionless, not just for the consumers, but for our customers selling to those consumers.
Do you see most of your customers, are they like existing retailers that are already doing something in the space, or do you see a lot of net new, like, hey, we don't have this sort of, and I'll use the word channel, but maybe not the right word, but we don't have an autonomous retail channel. We always have cashiers and lines and stuff. Do you see more people who are already doing something in sort of the autonomous retail space, or are they sort of net new coming to you saying, hey, can you help us figure this out?
It's definitely a little bit of both. And like we've been playing in this space for 30 years. Cantaloupe, previously USA Technologies, invented the credit card reader for a vending machine. So by nature, our customers have been merchants that were already playing in this space. But we are absolutely seeing an influx, and it goes to the whole entire conversation we're having about this shift towards autonomous retail and unattended retail and consumers demanding these on-demand experiences. We're certainly starting to see traditional retailers saying, man, we know we need to be playing in this space. We need to be moving towards omnichannel. We've got to be getting in front of these people. So, of course, they're going to look to the company that's been doing that for over 30 years.
Well, what trends or unique applications are you seeing from companies that are moving into this autonomous retail space? And then what's driving those trends or unique applications?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question because I kind of think about this in two ways, and they're kind of opposite positions. But regardless, either way, that shift is absolutely being driven by the consumer demand for seamless, frictionless buying experiences. But in my opinion, one of the most accurate depictions of what technology will look and feel like in the future came from a film from Spike Jonze called Her. And it starred Joaquin Phoenix. He was this guy who fell in love with his computer's operating system. So there was like a Siri or Alexa like computerized assistant that was voiced by Scarlett Johansson. But in that film, technology was super minimal. And it wasn't like the Jetsons, there weren't flying cars. This technology wasn't in your face. Things more just kind of seemed to happen as they should. Like, for instance, if you walked into a room, the lights would just kind of slowly turn on. It was far more based on the Internet of Things. So, on one hand, you've got companies working on self-driving cars and gobbling up real estate in the metaverse. Yet at Cantaloupe, our mission is simply to help the world buy it and go. We're making sure that merchants of every shape and size are able to participate in this shift towards unattended retail and digital payments. So we strongly believe autonomous retail is no longer reserved for just the big box retailers. We're offering affordable tools like tablet-based self-checkout terminals and wallet APIs that are completely breaking down these barriers to entry.
Yeah, so a sort of a follow-on to that, I think, and you mentioned this earlier, Cantaloupe's been doing it for, 30 years, starting with an invented credit card machine on vending machines. So obviously it's evolved incredibly fast over the years. What are some unique applications? I mean, things maybe the common person hasn't thought of that's using kind of this new technology, and maybe a Cantaloupe customer or maybe not, but what's like a really unique application that you can think of?
Well, I mean, I think we're going to see a ton of usage in cameras kind of driving this next iteration of unattended retail. There's so much power in what the software powering these cameras can do, from recognizing shapes and faces and people to recognizing products and calculating inventory. I think you're going to see things just get more and more seamless with the adoption of camera technologies in this space.
And where do you see retail companies adjusting over, say, the next 4 to 5 years? What are the new ways consumers are going to like to shop, and how are these retail companies going to adjust to that?
Yeah, I think we're going to probably see just a complete blurring of the lines between unattended and traditional retail. And again, consumers have higher expectations and more options at their fingertips than ever before. So for retailers to stay relevant and build brand affinity, they're going to be forced to seamlessly deliver winning experience across every channel that consumers are surfing. So they better be ready to accept whatever forms of payment those consumers want to use exactly when they're ready to use it. I think if you sit back and wait for consumers to come to you, it'll be the death of your brand. So we're in an on-demand world. You need to be predicting what people want, when they're going to want it, and then you need to be the first one there in line to service them at that exact moment without them even having to ask for it. I think it's only those that can provide that level of service that are going to earn the business of consumers and dominate the future of retail.
Michael, we've covered a lot of ground about the unattended retail space, a little bit about you and Cantaloupe as well. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
I think I'd just like to say that it's an extremely exciting time to be in this space. It's growing so fast, and these technologies to support it are getting cooler and more interesting by the day. I've also just really enjoyed joining this Cantaloupe family. Everyone here is so passionate about what we do, and it's all about innovation and truly being that technology partner for our customers. I would just say if anyone listening is interested in learning more about our solutions or even joining our team, please do not hesitate to reach out. We would absolutely love to hear from you.
Is the best way to reach out is to go to the website?
Absolutely.
And can people find you on LinkedIn?
Yes, they can.
All right. Well, Michael, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate your time. I know it's very valuable. So again, thank you so much for being on.
The pleasure was all mine, Greg. Thanks again for having me on.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Leaders in Payments podcast. Make sure you visit our website at leadersinpayments.com, where you can subscribe to the show and where you'll find our show notes. If you enjoyed listening, please share on your social channels as well.